Men don't complain. Period.
Facts.
They get busy.
Repeat that for the listeners.
Men do not complain. They get busy. And you better get busy with yourself in relationship with God and fellowshipping with people that want to make something happen. It is your God-given responsibility.
Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of. Money on my mind, 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 money on my mind. So money is all I think of.
All right. Money is on my mind indeed. Yes, this is Financial State of Mind. And I am your gracious host, Darrin Harvey, and this is the show where I help you get to that bag, manage the bag, and grow that bag as best as possible as we discuss financial, business literacy, and everything and anything to do with the power of the dollar. And you are listening to me on KGPC 96.9 FM, now streaming on KGPC96.9.org and available on all streaming platforms of choice. And today I am joined by, of course, unofficial co-host of the Financial State of Mind, Shabazz. And we have another special guest on the episode. Two. You get two for the price of one. We call that a two-piece. We got Wesley in the building. How you doing today, Wesley?
I'm doing good. I'm grateful. Happy to be here with you guys. Looking forward to the conversation, and hopefully we feed each other when it comes down to it.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to get right into it. So first question, Wesley, is who's Wesley? Who are you?
Man, that's a good question. I think for me, the simplest way to explain it, a man moving in purpose. I feel like I'm here on the mission, and there's work to be done. The work has to get done. There's too many people that we have, as men, we have great impact, and we're not aware of what that impact is. And as a result, we miss opportunities to really put in infrastructure that can help our families, help our communities, help our country, and help people just be well.
I hear you on that. Men are missing their mark on the impact that they could be bringing.
Yeah,
I like that. Let's talk more about that. So from your point of view, what could men be doing better that they're not, or that they need to work on when it comes to impact?
So a few things. I have a book that I haven't published yet, but it's called Living Dust, Confessions of a Bachelor. And the reason why I call it Living Dust is because we usually think of ashes to ashes, dust to dust when you pass, but you can be alive and not moving in purpose, not understanding how to use your gifts to serve and to move the needle on the things that matter for yourself and for your family. So essentially, you know, you be super smart and you can be doing things that are destructive. You can be super handsome and pulling all the girls, but creating destructive generational energy by how you're treating people, having kids out of wedlock and not being there. There's so many different ways that you can be moving in depth in terms of how you're going about living life. And so for me, it really comes down to having a relationship with God to understand it's not about you, and then being able to be real with yourself and recognize your flaws, because we all have flaws, and our sacrifices are things that we can do to overcome our flaws. And I think for men, we're not having these conversations. So what's happening is that we're really role modeling juvenile energy. Like, we're not thinking about how to move as men, and we're not having conversations with each other about the standard of being a man. And as a result, us as brothers, we're not having powerful conversations with the young men in terms of how they help groom them to become men. So, yeah.
I hear you on that. So my follow-up question to that is, there's three black men at this table right here.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you that us black men, regardless of generation, we can do better about a lot of things. We can do better about teaching our young men, our young black men, everything. We can do better about being better partners in our relationships. We can do better about even supporting each other as black men.
Real talk.
What are some of the things that you are doing right now to support not only yourself and your family, but other men?
You know, when I think about that question, the first thing is, I'm not in competition with my brothers. When I think about how many safe spaces do we have for our young people to get an internship when they're in high school, to get exposure to like an apprenticeship opportunity, and then let's say when they're in college, are we even having systems in place that say to the young men, go to college with intentionality, look at each semester in the summertime, what internship could you be striving for in first semester, second semester, summertime? Like, we got our kids getting to junior year trying to decide what they want to do, and it's like, But we're setting them up almost for failure because we aren't putting the systems in place to get them exposure to the things that will help them be successful out the gate. They can make money while they're in high school. They can make money while they're in college. They can get all the skill sets they need so they can decide, do I want to go into entrepreneurship or do I want to go into the trades or do I want to end up working for this corporation? Like, to have agency of their life early on. And it's on us as men to put systems in place so that they know how to treat a woman. They know how to have a social setting. We give them exposure to playing golf, to different things. It's not selling out. It's about exposure. Men are supposed to travel this world and have a universal spirit. So to me, it really is about what do we put in place for them. And for me personally, CoBiz Richmond is an example of creating a hub where people can have access to safe space, access to resources, access to experts, and most importantly, really activate the social capital that exists within every single community where we exist. So that's just one example. And then lastly, if I was going to add this piece, I think it's hypocritical for us to be like, there's issues in our communities, but then we don't prepare to learn how to become masters at solving those solutions. So then we have people we put in leadership that have not actually tested themselves. They haven't actually went and learned so that they can offer a tangible solution that can help lead to the outcome. And I think us as men, that's part of our responsibility. And we kind of put it on the women. And as a result, we're having an imbalance right now. And that has to change.
Got you. So that's how I know you, is from CoBiz. But before I ask more about what led you to that, listeners are going to want to know, like, what was your experience that led you to this mindset, to your passion and your desires of wanting to do all of this? Like, was there any experiences or experience that made you just kind of go, this is what I want to do? Or like, just tell me more about your kind of background.
I mean, a few things. So I was born in Brooklyn, was doing pretty well in school, and then my parents moved to Jersey, and I guess I was like a grade ahead. And when we got to Jersey, two different schools were like, hey, your son has a learning disabilities. We need to put him back a grade. We also need to put him in remedial classes. And fortunately for me, my parents were like, nah, that's not happening. And as I got older, I noticed there's many other brothers throughout the country that went through that experience. And unfortunately, they were put a grade behind or they were put in remedial classes. And that messed with their confidence. You know, they can get made fun of or they start thinking, are they not smart? Do they not have the capability to do things? And people need to think about what's the domino effect of that. So now you may not get into the honors program, or now you may not get into the gifted program. Now you may not get into that excellent high school that can set you up for a trajectory of success. Maybe you may not get that scholarship to go to college. So these things have a domino effect in our communities, and we kind of look at it as one-off situations, but the reality is that they're not. I've seen so many experiences where brothers were in position to have access to certain opportunities. And I remember a lot of sisters saying, there's no brothers in this class. There's no XYZ. And I'm like, hey, those standardized tests aren't returning the right results for our people, because I know a lot of brothers who are exceptionally smart and they should be in those classrooms with you, and they're not having access in those rooms. And you're thinking that brothers ain't trying. No, brothers are trying. They do have the capabilities. So I just seen a lot of the redlining within the educational arena, within the business arena, legal system. And for me, it's like, I'm not going to cry about what they're doing. It's like, what am I going to do to put something in place that can change what I'm seeing? And like what you guys are doing with the podcast and the work that you guys do with your establishments, that's part of the solution.
Right. So that makes sense, and that is what led you to CoBiz, or part of that is what led you to CoBiz. So I'm gonna tag in Shabazz because that's how I met you, is through CoBiz. So basically, Shabazz, when we were deciding on where the official office, for lack of better words, is going to be for Financial State of Mind, the nonprofit side,
Yes, sir.
Shabazz was like, I know a guy. So
Thank you, bro.
You know, that's kind of what led me to that. And then obviously it was a couple of weeks ago when I came in for the first time, and I was like, oh yeah, this is nice.
Thank you, bro.
This is nice. It's quiet. And my first instinct is, I didn't even know Richmond had a spot like that. And where it was located is convenient because it's right by BART. It's right where a lot of public transportation meets.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's a great spot. So my last question, and then I'll let Shabazz tag in and ask some questions for you, is what led you to decide on CoBiz? Tell me a little bit about how you were able to make that happen, and talk about why you wanted to make specifically CoBiz happen in that location.
All right, y'all. I'm going to go backwards to speak to how I got to the journey of CoBiz. Essentially, At a young age, around 7 or so, I was watching the documentary on Selma, and it just pissed me off to see like people sicking dogs on women and children and our elders. It allowed me to start paying attention to my own community, which was Plainfield, New Jersey. They call it the Queen City, predominantly black town, that went through the riots as well, and that transformed that community. I had to start paying attention and seeing what the gaps were. I started realizing like, ain't nothing really changing. I started thinking about my education in terms of what do I need to learn so I can understand how things move, how things work. That way I can waterfall that information back and sit down at a table with other kings and queens who are looking to see a different outcome. And so that took me to the sciences, and then took me to, and I'm saying these things not from bragging, but saying, hey, for me, this was my walk to prepare to be able to be a part of the solutions. Startups like Intel and joint ventures between GE and Intel as well. You also went to the FBI special agent, and people say, why'd you do that? I said, well, if you're going to build something, you also need to know how to protect it. So we can't be moving it without understanding of systems to be able to navigate this world. I had a small startup called Promising Potential, which is basically a consulting firm that I created to help early stage entrepreneurs, professionals, even college students who are trying to get somewhere. Like, what's the roadmap? What's the way that you can move strategically? All those experiences, I brought them together in terms of being able to say, let's say in the city of Richmond, or it could be in Vallejo, or it could be in Camden, New Jersey, or it can be in the 8th Ward in New Orleans. There are gaps in our communities, and what do we need to fill those gaps? And for me, Richmond is an example of saying we're 50 miles from the heart of Silicon Valley. We have great innovation and ingenuity within our communities, but do we have safe space to bring us together, to give us access to the experts that can help us take the walk to navigate those things? Also provide us with the resources where it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to be able to take that next step. And then most importantly, to be able to activate the social capital that allows us to multiply each other. And without having that social capital, without having that trust, what happens is that you have great people doing things in isolation. And that isolation usually means you're going to run into a ceiling. Because the systems we're going up against, those people come together and they sit down at a table and they say, hey, Darrin, we're going to make sure we keep you out of this room. So the only way to stop that is that we have a collective where they say, oh, we can't mess with Darrin because he has people behind him.
Right. Shabazz, you have a question for Wesley?
I actually do. So, first of all, man, I love the work that you're doing. I love what you provide and what you bring to the table and the community. My question is, when it comes down to us, as black people, business, entrepreneurship, what can we be doing, right, because I'm going to go back, and when I was young, right, and I was a teenager, high school, college, and I'm trying to figure out things, right, and I always had this entrepreneurial spirit, right, but there were no resources. There was nowhere I can go to figure that out. There was nobody I can go ask questions that had results, people that I can or find some mentorship. And I know that is still, you look 20 years later, I know that's still a void there, right? Where you have a lot of young people that do not have anywhere they can go to actually get these resources or get some kind of skills or learn anything about where to start. What could we be doing within our community right now, in your opinion, to help support that more?
Ooh, man, personally, I think there are a lot of gatekeepers in our communities. I just want to call it out because there are folks with the information in our communities. There are folks who have had the opportunity to go to college, folks that work for Fortune 100 companies, stakeholders that work in these banks. We just simply have to do more. Like if you go to my LinkedIn page, you're going to see a black stallion and it says, we must do more. And that means it requires intentionality because you may graduate from your high school and you may leave and be able to start your family somewhere else, but you can come back to your high school virtually. You can come back to your high school and be able to say, hey, I'd like to just be able to offer mentorship to 5 promising students and be able to create that visual connection and that relationship with the young people to see what's possible. You may see a young man in your neighborhood who is raking leaves and making some money, and then you can pull him aside and say, hey, you know what, we can start an LLC for you. Or if not, let's set up a business banking account for you make sure your parents go to the bank and let's set it up and let's put a website in place for you so that, you know what, during the school year, maybe you can't work as much, but when summertime comes, you can probably get 20 to 35 weekly jobs and be, you know, now you're like cutting grass, maybe you're trimming the hedges. Like, it's simple things. This doesn't require rocket science. When it comes to the whole ecosystem of Silicon Valley, the brilliance doesn't happen when the people are 21, 22, 23, or 30 and 40. In their high schools, they're putting in programs to give them the opportunity to learn how to innovate, to be able to experiment and test their ideas, and to be able to be supported as they, quote unquote, let's say, fail. So they don't look at it as failure. They look at it as, hey, we're preparing them to become entrepreneurs. We can be doing the same thing. People see something like go-karting, and they're like, you know, they're having fun. No, they're getting exposed to mechanical engineering. They're getting exposed to how to work with teams. They're getting exposed how to compete, how to take an L when you take an L and come back stronger. We can be doing that in our own communities if us as men realize that we're going to have to make that sacrifice on a Saturday and set up that safe environment for the kids to come in and, hey, build your cars, learn how to drive them, and then the following weekend, we're going to have the competition. That's giving people exposure to, hey, this skill set can allow me to become an auto mechanic, or maybe I might create my own car one day, or be a design engineer. That is simple things that we can be doing, but it requires us as men to have that intentionality. There's a reason why we have a certain purpose.
True. Gatekeeping. I'm glad you brought that up.
You're about to get me riled up.
Let's get it. Let's talk about it.
Because we're talking about, you mentioned that CoBiz is relatively about 50 miles from Silicon Valley, right? Mm-hmm. Right here in the heart of Northern California, we have some of the most innovative tech companies, right? We've got Facebook, we've got Google. The list goes on and on, right? I feel as though when it comes to, in this, especially with artificial intelligence, we're in a tech-driven world right now. Mm-hmm. However, I feel far as our people, we're more shut out of the technology. When I go to Black Wall Street, right, .com, right, when I go through their database and I look at the entrepreneurs that are in that database, and shout out to Black Wall Street for even having the platform.
Yeah,
I see different entrepreneurs, but they're selling food, they're making jewelry, they're doing all these different things, but there's nothing really technical when I look at these companies. And these things are good, and that's fine, but I'm like, there's nobody that has any kind of technology that they have developed, and we're more shut out of that, right? Right here, in the heart of it, it's not available to us. When you mention gatekeeping, there are people that actually have had success. There are people that just come from these roots right here, and that basically have the resources to where, hey, we could combine and we can start some kind of organization that'll help nurture that, right? Mm-hmm. But of course, obviously they don't do that, right? So I say all that to say, what is it that we can be doing? Even though, like I said, we're just pretty much, even 50 miles, we're a stone throw from Silicon Valley. What is it that we can do right now, and even in the future, not even just right now, future-wise, to prepare, because it's here. And technology is not slowing down for anybody right now. What can we do? And what happens is they figure it out. They figure out everything. And then once they figure out everything, they also figure out how to make us consumers in the space. Mm-hmm. How can we get ahead and keep up with what's going on and be more innovative when it comes to technology? What, in your opinion?
And that's a pretty big question. I'll try to take one small bit of it, I guess you can say.
Of course.
Success is not always about having 1 million subscribers on your platform. Mm-hmm. If you're able to understand your business model for what you're building, it might be 10,000 monthly subscribers that are paying $9.99 for whatever solution that you're building. What I'm really trying to speak to is this. We're looking at success as Facebook and Google. Mm-hmm. But what are the needs within our own community?
Right.
If we can start there, if you're 12 years old, listen to this podcast, or 14, and you're passionate about entrepreneurship and technology, look in your own state of Georgia. What's missing? What is the gap? who's addressing that gap? If no one is addressing that gap, now you can start thinking about, okay, what technology do I need to be able to address that? Now it becomes like, who do I need to reach out to? Do I need to Brother Darrin here? Brother Shabazz? Do I need to reach out to Wesley? Do I need to get on YouTube University? Do I need to go on an AI platform called Lovable and start building that app platform? And now you're getting exposed to SendGrid and Twilio and Superbase in terms of the database for your app. Now, all these things I'm saying, you may say, hey, I don't have no exposure to. But you got to remember, our folks are so innovative. We have creativity in our bones. If we have the desire to want to make it happen, we can shut this divide down quickly, but it does require us to move in collaboration. And when I use the word collaboration, that means authentically showing up to see somebody else be successful. Not coming in like, well, if Brother Darrin makes it, I'm going to feel a little less than because, I'm not where I want to be. But I grew up with the mantra that you bring, as you step up, you make sure that you create that pathway for somebody else. So I'm going to trust that he's going to do the right thing as he hits success. When it comes down to really answering this question, we don't have to compare ourselves to what they're doing. We need to focus on what solutions can we build for our community? What solutions can we build that will solve a problem, solve a gap? Right now they're talking about for hair braiding that they're not sure of what chemicals are being used. There's a powerful quality engineer or a material engineer out there that can say, you know what, I can create a platform that can help us do the analysis so that way we can decide which products are working for us and which ones aren't. It's just simple things like that. And that material engineer, they don't have to create an organization for you to give exposure to our young people to get exposure to technology. It might just be doing a workshop at your local church, for example, or just coming into a co-working space and saying, hey, let me work with a hidden genius or let me work with the local youth organization to get them exposure to what material engineering is. And then from that, who knows where the conversation may lead. But it's just being intentional. It's not about how many people you reach. It's about reaching the people right within your arm's reach. And if each one of us are doing that, we can address that problem in terms of tech. Because when it comes to the funding piece of it, let's keep it real. If I don't like you, if I think you're less than me, and I'm going to you asking you for money, why would you give me money? If you don't want to see me successful, why am I barking up your tree to ask for funding to support what I'm doing?
Right.
You may say, well, it's because it's going to make you profitable. But redlining was never about seeing you become profitable. It's about them maintaining control and power. So we just got to understand really what it is. And at the end of the day, do our best to be successful so that we can create the foundations that fund our own nonprofits, so we can create the business incubators that will fund the technology dreams of our young people. I met so many founders that have come to California that left saying, hey, I can't get funding. I'm not supported here. But there's plenty of our people that have money, but they don't have purpose. They sold. They become gatekeepers. And we need to call those folks out and really start, those who are really about it, we need to start putting things in place. We can use compound interest, put $500 in the account, give it 10, 15, 25 years. It's a small fund, but that fund can be used to see someone's dream 25 years from now. The long game. This is not something that's going to change tomorrow. We got to be strategic about this. We all going to pass. What are we leaving behind? Like, I don't want chains and a big house, and that ain't nothing.
Right.
Right.
I could have unraveled that more. I know that was a big question I put on.
It's all good. I try my best, bro.
No, it's all good. I know you probably have some knowledge about this. When it comes to, you brought up a good point. People come here, great minds come from here, and they take the knowledge and whatever it is that they're cultivating, they take it somewhere else because basically they're not getting the support that they need here. There are certain cities where we do have black people in office that actually hold these seats. In your opinion, do you feel like they're more of the problem or they're more the solution, or is it half and half? Because that is part of the biggest problem that we have. Like, when we vote for people, we put them in these offices, and these are the people that got access to the funding, right? A lot of the funding, quite frankly. When they're in these positions, are they actually serving the purpose?
You know, before I tried to, of course we mentioned the gatekeepers, but reality is that it starts with us.
Right.
do we know how things work? There's something called civic responsibility. And I just took the time to lay out, like, identifying how does your city work? Is it a mayor, city council? Is it city manager, city council? Like, understanding those nuances. And then how does things work for your county? Then from there, your state representatives. And then from there, your federal representatives. So that we can start having grown men conversation and grown women conversation about how to be strategic in all the things that we do. It is a part of our adult responsibility. It is not on one person. But when I share, for example, there's like a PDF, I try to make it easy. All the commissions that exist in our communities. Also, the document that explained the different city governance. And people who wanted to lead, I had one simple request. Before we meet again, read, short and sweet, read it. Come to the table with what part do you want to focus on? And I can say, we're not talking about 10 people, not 20 people, we're talking about many people. Not one person did the work. So how can I expect the mayor to do what's right, or the city council or the governor or whoever, if we're not taking the time to do the work? It's not for someone else to do that for us. And until we're having those type of conversations, we're actually playing ourselves. We're just complaining. We're not being men. Like, men do something. And how can our young boys know what to do if we're not investing the time? You're doing quite a bit of powerful work on financial readiness and financial literacy, which should not be optional for us as men who are seen to be leaders of our families and of our communities. It shouldn't be optional. The same way it shouldn't be optional for us to take care of our children. And it shouldn't be optional for us to know, how does governance work? It's not about saying, hey, I've never been to a city council meeting. I never did X, Y, Z. We're supposed to be comfortable being uncomfortable, doing what needs to be done to take care of our families and to protect them. And as long as we don't do that, we'll be subject to all this foolishness that we have seen that personally leads to our kids not having hope, leads to depression, leads to people not valuing where they live. And when you have that kind of energy, there's going to be turmoil in the home. And once there's turmoil in the home, it just manifests in ugliness. I'm not here for that. I'm not trying to encourage that.
Absolutely. And listeners, just to remind you, we got Wesley in the building along here with Maurice, and we're over here, Financial State of Minds, KGBC 96.9 FN, tuned in right now, having grown man talk.
Yes, sir.
What can we do better in the community as black men? So I love what you said about halfway through. And I'm going to say a crazy hot take, but it's true. Wesley, you don't know this, but before I was in personal finance, I was in legal sales for 10 years. So I'm actually, after wrap this recording, I'm probably going to go to an event with attorneys.
Okay.
So I've been around attorneys for 10 years. And I've been very lucky that a lot of these attorneys have taken a liking to me at a young age. And you said something that I want to highlight, and there's going to be a lot of angry listeners when I say this, but I'm just going to say it. You said earlier about how you made up this very important document that I'm now going to go read. And before we can continue with the conversation, I need you to read this document on how literally the city, the county, the state, the feds, this portion of it, this is how it works. I need you to read this before we can have a conversation. And then you said 10, 20, no, many of them, none of them did it. And then now we come off as complaining. See, listeners, I'm going to say something that's going to hurt. That's exactly how white people see us, especially rich, the ones in power, the ones with influence. That's exactly how they see it. That's exactly how they think. Well, we understand that you have these obstacles, but we're just asking you to do A, B, C, and D, which we know you can do, but you choose not to do it. So they're not telling this part, which is, we already thought that you wouldn't do that, but we gave you a chance, and now you're proving to us what we already felt about you. That's why we don't like you, so that's why we don't even want to have a conversation about us being white people wanting to help you being black men. And that's one thing that I've openly said on this podcast, and that's just my belief, is that, yes, we have circumstances where we are probably have it the most challenging out of any community, any race in the United States of America. But that doesn't give us the pass to not do the work. The information's out there. This is not pre-internet. The information's out there, and especially nowadays, you have someone like you, Wesley, who literally took the time out of your busy life to put the information out there in a more digestible manner.
I tried.
And people aren't reading it. And me and Shabazz have these conversations about personal finances. It's the same thing. Basically, my point is that we now have the information to obtain the tools to liberate us. But for some reason, we're not, as a whole community, taking advantage of that. Why do you think, from your experience, that is?
You know, it's funny. So I read the book of Job this week, and it's like, there's going to be trials and tribulations no matter what you're, once you're born, you're going to have trials and tribulations. And I think a lot of us focus on what hasn't happened in our community in terms of the good things that haven't happened. And we let that become the weight. We let that become the trauma that defines us. But if you go look at the Punic Wars and the fight that the Europeans had to do for centuries to be able to, quote unquote, expel the Moors, that's what they had to do. Question is, what are we going to do? Do you have a dog in you? Do you have a dog in you to really, think about your family? Do you love them enough to, I'm going to do everything in my power to see that they're well without doing something ungodly? Mm-hmm. Do I care enough to, when a young man, we know if our kids are getting, I'm going to come back and answer the question, but we know, for example, our children may get penalized more, not just in elementary school or high school, but I've also seen this in college where the punishment does not fit the, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, the crime.
Right.
And that person's life could almost get railroaded. But do we show up as a collective of men? Anytime a kid in our school, in our neighborhood, that gets in trouble, and we show up and we're in front of the principal, we're saying, so what happened?
Right.
And they know, now there's a repercussion if you mess with that one kid. So my point is, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, it's not going to be easy. But are you willing to take the long walk to make something change? And that requires doing the work that you don't want to do. I didn't want to create that web page and put these documents. There's other things that I wanted to do. But it is important that we move with understanding. Honestly, to keep it real, it has nothing to do with black or white people. It has to do with the spirit of those that are in your community that have the opportunity to have an impact. Do they have a spirit of destruction, or do they have a spirit of wanting to create? And there's two different things. One is godly and one is evil. We just got to call it what it is, because there's absolutely no reason why we can't have our program. They have it called Boy State, and they call it Girl State. And these programs exist in high school where they literally take the up-and-coming young people and they get them exposure to the political system. Why can't we do that for our kids?
Right.
Why can't we help the Hidden Genius Project, making sure that hey, you know what? We're going to all do $5 a month to support. We're going to get 1,000 brothers to all do $5 a month to support the work of Hidden Genius Project. These are simple things that we can do, but it requires you to have a dog and to not be selfish. If we spending all our money on trying to pull women and trying to do foolish stuff, then we're going to get foolish results. It's not happening because they're not seeing the men make the sacrifices en masse to do the work that needs to be done. And I'm not trying to beat up our brothers. Mm-hmm. It's not easy for me to do things that I strive to do. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But what I'm really trying to say is, it's bigger than us. Mm. We're supposed to be doing work for a time beyond this time. And if people really understand that, doing the work for a time beyond this time, all this, I'm going to call it drill music, all our music now that's really, really toxic. I remember being a kid and hearing the rock and roll and hearing the destructive energy in it. And I was like, man, thank goodness our music is not like that. But it was strategy to make our music like that. They were committed to being destructive. Are you committed to being creative and building something positive? Then do the work. Men don't complain. Period.
Facts.
They get busy.
Mm-hmm. Repeat that for the listeners.
Men do not complain. They get busy. And you better get busy with yourself in relationship with God and fellowshipping with people that want to make something happen. It is your God-given responsibility.
Facts.
Whew.
Sorry, brother.
I had to take a moment. That's powerful right there. But it's absolutely true. Men don't complain. We get busy. And so many of us complain. And it's not that I'll say this. Most of what we're complaining about is valid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the truth is, there's a lot of other cultures that can say the same thing. Well, most of what they complain about is valid. I actually know, I'm not sure if you guys are hearing, but, Africa is coming up in business. As far as a continent, they're the biggest growing, fastest growing entrepreneurship continent, period, right now, even beating us. I know somebody who's flying over there to have a speech. He's a brother, and they're coming up. I bring them up, though, because even Africans do that, do exactly what you said. Let's pull together our little amount of resources so one of us can win. And then the hope is that that one person can bring everybody with them. And what I've noticed is that in a lot of other minority cultures, that actually happens. That happens, whether they're African, whether they're Indian, they're Asian, whether they're sometimes even Latino, Mexican, they can all do that. But for some reason, for us, that's a challenge, particularly in California that I'm learning. I'm learning our communities are a bit stronger in the South. Our communities are a bit stronger in the East. It's not as difficult to find people what you do just everywhere. Everywhere. I was just in D.C. a month ago, and it's just not that hard. But here, it's a lot more fragmented. It's a lot more segmented. It's a lot more of a crab in a bucket mindset. I like both of your guys' answers. Why do you guys think it's such a crab in a bucket, scattered, broken community of black men in entrepreneurship in California compared to in the South or the East where they seem to be doing a bit better?
I'll just jump out there. I think it's more about the unity when it comes to these different demographics. Like when we look at how things are doing, I just came back from New York about a month ago. And down in New York, it was different black people from all over.
Right.
And they have a certain way of how they come together. And I think the biggest thing is the support. You go down south, it's the support. And then when I look at things over here, because I've been over here, I grew up in Oakland, I've been here all my life. Basically, when I look at here, there is not a lot of support. We don't even have the infrastructure to support, right? We have none of that. Like if somebody, and Wesley had mentioned about music, we do have some talented artists out here, right? But if they ever want to go to the next level, they got to get out of here. You see what I'm saying? They got to go to L.A. They got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because we do not have, there's no support here. We got a whole bunch of artists, and I'm just using this as an example. Whole bunch of artists, but no record labels, no offices, nothing that you could walk into and actually conduct business. So the business portion of it is almost non-existent when it comes to that particular industry, but that is for a lot of other industries as well. So when I look at it, it's like we don't even have the infrastructure put in place so we can support these different industries, right? So if somebody wants to get into technology, if somebody wants to get into the restaurant business, if somebody wants to get into being a politician, we don't have anything here where we can go to. And I'm telling you, I've been here all my life, and I probably need to look into some things more and understand how this whole system works, because I have not benefited anything from even when we had black people in these positions, which is kind of a question that I have in my head, like, why? You know what I'm saying? So I think that we just don't have the structure to support. Nobody's putting a structure in place to actually support this either.
Right.
Yeah, I think we're probably, even though we're the probably have the most innovation and some of the most talented people that come out of here, it's just that part is they always go somewhere else and end up going somewhere else where they can really excel, which is probably what they should do if they're not getting supported. I mean, you can't just continue to sit in a place where you're not getting support, right? So, but that's just what I see.
Yeah.
Wesley, what about you?
That's a big question, because being someone from the East Coast, I've seen the similar, almost know your place, boy. So as long as you're not trying to really fulfill your full God-given abilities, then it's all good. But once you say, hey, like, I want to fulfill whatever that vision that you have, I feel like you see the similar challenges in terms of the gatekeeping. So I don't really think it's that different, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's unfortunate because it really does have an effect on not just our young people, but think about our elders. Like, what structure for socialization do we have to make sure that they're still well so they can transition gracefully as they get older? Think about the financial institutions, the insurance companies. We that own insurance companies by the numbers, right? It's like we're still on the plantation because everything that we're doing is having to funnel back up to them. Can we change it in our generation? Maybe not. But what we can do is put seeds so that the mindset can be thinking differently about things. It hurts my heart when I hear things like our young brothers and our young sisters, I'm talking about like in elementary school and like middle school, like having animosity toward each other because they haven't been brought together in spaces where they can interact with like respect and love. You know, like, how can we support each other when there's like that when there's that energy that exists? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's on us, fellas, to repair the harm that has been done in our communities. And community doesn't mean exactly where you live. It's like, I remember you work at a law firm or startup, whatever, and then some of the brothers and sisters don't want to say hi to each other because it kind of like feel like, oh, it's going to be uncomfortable. People think that we're talking. Man, the other groups are doing that right in front of your face. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we have to be bold and realize, like, they're not providing. Like, God provides, and I'm sorry to have to even get real with that, but we kind of thinking that the man and government provide. No, like, your gifts and your ability didn't come from you. So the fruits of your labor is not coming from them. And so there has to be a certain understanding, a certain grounding, because if not, what's going to happen is that you're going to sell out. You're going to, oh, you know what Brother Darrin's doing over there? And you're going to try to stop his progress. For what? You think you really elevated yourself? Now you in a community where you have no protection because you're the only one. You're the only person in that room, and you think you're special, but you ain't special. You just by yourself.
Right.
Now, who your kid's going to marry? Who your kid's going to play with? What history you going to pass down? What lessons are you going to be able to continue? It's just time to get real, because success doesn't mean it has to look like the people who have been in control. Success can look like the way you know it's supposed to be, in terms of, I respect you whether you're the janitor or whether you're the venture capitalist.
Right.
You know, I can have a conversation with you and just be able to vibe and learn something from you. Like, this hierarchy of being better than somebody is bullshit. And until we kind of get that understanding, we're going to essentially become successful and be like them. And we're going to call it diversity, but your values and your beliefs are just like them. So is there diversity just because your face looks different? Like, come on now.
Yeah, absolutely right. And as black people, one thing that we don't understand is how powerful we are. We have more right here in the United States than a lot of people, other ethnicities, because we have helped build this. We don't understand that if we come together, we really, by right, have more say-so than a lot of these other ethnicities. Not making it a race thing, but I'm sitting up here saying that if somebody was to create something like Facebook or TikTok and was black-owned, the problem is that once we do something great, here they come to buy us out. And that's the thing, and that's the problem, is that we need to support each other in such a way to where, no, this is ours. Y'all have yours, we have ours. And of course, they control a lot of the pieces on the board. But if we came to support each other in such a way, it's a lot of things they wouldn't be able to do.
Can I ask you a question, bro? Or can I put a challenge out? It just came just as you're speaking. I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't think of it as a challenge. Mm-hmm. Can we get, I'm on the advisory board for the Hidden Genius project in Richmond,
okay.
Right? Can we get 10,000 brothers to agree to put $5 a month to supporting the Hidden Genius nationally, just to show up? It's not a million-man mark. We're supporting something that's giving our young boys safe space. It's giving them culture. It's giving them ideas that they can ideate immediately and make revenue off of. It gives them exposure to go to college and go visit these massive companies, but it's giving them purpose. If we really want to talk about what can be done, can we say, hey, let's make it for 2026. Let's get 10,000 brothers that's going to agree to $5 a month. We spend more money, people doing what you call it, FanDuel and all this other nonsense, but we can't put $5 to seeing our young brothers in Detroit, then Atlanta now, LA, Las Vegas, Baltimore. Like, we can have impact on our young men right now and helping them navigate the uncertainty of well, if you're getting funding for black boys, that's a problem now because of all the changes. We can eliminate that for them. Right amongst ourselves. I wanted to be 100,000 brothers, but we're talking about what can we do? That's something we can do right now.
You know what? I could do one even better. Now that I know about it, not only will I support it, I'll put it on all my channels, and I'll even create some campaigns within my network, SMS, email campaigns.
That's what's up.
We could put it on Financial State of Minds too, and we could basically just create something to where we could spread awareness for it.
I appreciate that. Honestly, there's other challenges that we can do for our brothers. It's not about the monetary piece of it, but it's like we got to show a tangible example of I don't have to be a millionaire to support my brothers.
Where can they find us to support it?
They go to the website. They have a donation link on their website. Okay. I'm pretty sure they have the monthly subscription opportunities, but I'll get the information and verify and send it back to you guys so you can make an announcement. But I just think like there's things we can do right now. There's farmers that we could be supporting in our country right now. $5 from 1,000, that's a lot of money for like in a month. You know what I'm saying? That's something that they didn't have access to. They don't have to go beat down some bank or some funder that doesn't want to even support them, right? Like there's things that we can be doing with the little bit, quote unquote, that we have that can multiply so many more. And it doesn't have to be in the news. We can do it on the low. Like I'm just putting the challenge out because we're always thinking about what can be done. Like let's go. Like it's 1 million people doing phenomenal things out there. A little bit of something, we can make it happen.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this episode up. I know we're out of time. We're definitely going to have to continue this for sure. But the last thing I'll say before I wrap up is I came back about a month ago and I went to the National Museum, African American Museum. DC. And I'm more direct and I kind of hold my people to a higher standard.
Yes, sir.
And I'll say this. Yeah, it's absolutely about financial support. That's how we overcame civil rights movement. We got put into the position because of economics. We were, basically free labor for more years than we were not in this country. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of stuff stolen from us, and most people know about that. But that was 50 plus, 60 plus years ago. We've had a lot of time to where that stuff wasn't happening at the scale as it was back then. You just said the solution to me. Like whether it's your direct challenge or anything, just pulling the money together. Yes, we don't have as much money as pretty much every minority race, but it's sizable. If you look at it, it's sizable. And one statistic that I put out there again before wrapping up is, and I'm sure all you guys know this, a black dollar leaves the black community after 1 or 2 spends. Mm-hmm. Every other culture, it stays in the community longer. Right. Every other culture. And that's my problem. It's like, and this is speaking on to what you're saying and Shabazz was talking about is, why are we so quick and so okay to one, we complain, but then we go ahead and spend on the literal people we complain about. When the solution to me isn't that hard. The solution is what you just said. What you're doing, what me and Shabazz are doing. Yes, that is the solution. So listeners, if you want the solution, it's really there's no discussion. Stop spending money on stuff that you want, not need, and start putting it on stuff that is really going to impact your community. It doesn't have to be the black community. I don't just do this for black people. I do this for disabled people because I'm legally blind. Mm-hmm. We have our own issues too. So that's the solution. It's just support each other. This is not a crab in a barrel mindset where if you win, you can't get brought back. Right. Like you can. We hear all these stories. We hear the stories, even in our community of, oh yeah, rappers most famously. I got out the hood and I brought my guys with and I provided them all stuff. So it's not like it doesn't happen, but it can happen. So listeners, again, consider donating to whatever, whether it's Wesley's link or soon to be us or whatever you believe in, but actually do it. Talk is cheap at the end of the day. It's free. Action costs something. Whether it's a monetary thing or even your time, even volunteering. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's underappreciated at times, just volunteering. Yeah. So we're definitely going to have you back for a part 2 because it's something that, Shabazz are definitely passionate about, as you know. For sure. But I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to come join us.
Absolutely.
It's been great to learn more about you and your background and what led you to CoBiz. And again, thank you for having us be there. Right. Have our officer stays there, so I appreciate that. Before I let you go, where can people find you?
So you can find me if you're on Instagram at CoBiz Richmond. want to visit our website, CoBizRichmond.com. I'm also on LinkedIn at Wesley Alexander. You also can visit my page, promisingpotential.org. For anyone that's literally trying to strategize, bringing their business to market, a nonprofit, looking to scale, really moving strategically, I always want to encourage us to go slow to go fast. It's a long game, y'all, like real talk. And I don't have all the answers, but I leverage the people that I know, like these phenomenal gentlemen right here, who can help us get to where we want to get to. It takes time, y'all. There's no magic pill to this thing.
Thank you. And again, Shabazz, thank you for joining me. This has been Financial State of Minds with Darrin Harvey. This is a show where I help you get to that bag, manage that bag, and grow that bag as best as possible by talking about business and financial literacy, anything and everything to do with Power Dollar on KGPC 96.9 FM. Thank you, guys. Peace, keys, and we're out of here.
Thank you.